Friday, the final day of the week. These are the voyages of the program Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Its ongoing mission: to explore strange new movies, to seek out new bits and new edifications, to boldly go where no radio program has gone before. Elkent's Movie Club. It's Elkent's Movie Club. Elkent's Movie Club. It's Elkent's Movie Club. Once upon a time, I could hit those notes.
You did a really good job, though, man.
Way back when I used to be able to hit, I could. Well, I don't know if I could hit the notes of the original Star Trek theme, but I could get a lot closer than
Yeah.
I know that's the Star Trek theme. It doesn't. If you didn't know that, it doesn't sound like it should be the Star
You
Trek.
think so?
It sounds like it should. It's like a sitcom opening. It doesn't seem like all
Oh,
sexy and cool and interesting.
Yeah, but,
like
but can't. I mean, this you watched it first run back in the late '60s. It was. I mean, for
It
its
was the
time,
60s,
it was
yeah.
definitely
Oh, yeah.
spacey.
And that was a distinctive, you knew that was on. That, I watched it. Of course I did. Every kid in this at that time was locked into Star Trek.
Well, we are locked into Dallas Buyers Club
Mhm.
from 2013, starring Matthew McConaughey and Jennifer Garner and Jared Leto. By the way, I did not know Jared Leto was in this film.
Oh, really?
No, and it took me a little bit
he's great. In
to figure out who that was, because I recognize him,
Mhm.
but and then I figured out, oh, it's Jared
Jared
Leto.
Leto, yeah.
And so I didn't know going in
Mhm.
he was
and
in,
he ended up winning the Oscar for it.
yeah.
So did McConaughey.
So interesting film. Just quick synopsis. Matthew McConaughey is he's like a rodeo guy, real, redneckish
Oh, yeah.
guy, very
Oh, yeah.
very close-minded, who contracts AIDS in the mid-'80s.
Well, first he gets HIV.
Yeah, first he gets HIV, then it turns into full-blown AIDS. But of course, back in the 80s, if you got AIDS, you were instantly categorized as
Homosexual.
and of
Yeah.
course, he lives in a society where that,
Yeah, he's
that
from
kind of
Texas.
stuff is-
In the name Dallas Buyers Club, he's in Texas.
But essentially, it becomes an idea where he's trying to get medicine that helps with not curing it, because obviously there wasn't a cure, but to help with the treatment and help prolong lives, because obviously it was the very beginning of the AIDS crisis, so there was a lot of experimentation going on, and he essentially smuggles in drugs and becomes a drug smuggler / drug producer when he finds out this combination of drugs is more conducive towards prolonging lives of patients versus the stuff that they're dishing out at the hospitals. And he calls it the Dallas Buyers Club, where all of these people who have contracted HIV come to him. And of course, there's a fight with the FDA, there's a fight with the authorities, and that's basically the premise of the movie. And it's based on a true story, which I did not know going in. So that was also news to me, that this is based on a true story.
However, it's two things based on the true story. One is that the Jared Leto character and Jennifer Garner characters are composites. Those are not real people. They're people okay. This is an interesting backstory on this movie. The screenwriters actually interviewed, what's his name? Ron, the guy that McConaughey won.
Hubbard, right?
Hubbard, no.
Scientology.
Joke. Not Ron Hubbard.
L. Ron Hubbard. They got him for an interview from the grave.
Ron Woodruff.
Ron Woodruff before he died. And they put together this script. And in doing so, they also had talked to some of the people that were involved with him, including gay people and doctors and everything. But in order to make it a movie, they took a lot of these people and sort of made them into one character. And they got the script was actually written in 2000. It took them 10 years to get this thing even rolling down the highway because, you know, studios will make it, we won't make it, we can't fund it, whatever. Among the actors who were attached to this is Brad Pitt. At one point was going to play him, and I believe the first one was Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Woody Harrelson was the first guy who's going to play him, but because I think because it was a money issue for him.
It was a money issue, and this thing was ultra low budget. This, I think, had less than a $10 million budget. McConaughey basically did this for nothing. I'm sure he did it for points on the other end, but he did this for nothing. And it was released by Focus Features, which is the sort of indie art film kind of division of Universal. So
Okay.
it wasn't even released by big Universal, which tells you they didn't expect to get what they got. And what they got was a reasonably successful box office picture that had these great performances. And part of the low budgetness, to me, is part of what makes the movie so good, is the director, who is a French-Canadian guy whose name I can't even begin to think about pronouncing, used handheld digital cameras for well over half of the movie and natural light when he was using those cameras. It completely changes the way the movie looks and the way the movie feels. And that, I think, was a direct reflection, not of, oh, I'm going to be arty, but, oh, I got no money, right?
Yeah. Kent, you mentioned the composite characters of Leto's and of Gardner's character.
And by the way, it's kind of reminiscent, maybe for those who aren't familiar, like with when Oliver Stone did JFK, some of the character, like the character that oh my gosh, his name just escaped me. Donald Sutherland played was like a composite character of a bunch of other people. So that's to kind of put it into another context for people to understand. That's why they did that.
So that was a change from real life. And doing a little research, basically reading the Wikipedia page, it shows that there is, I guess, not the full truth on exactly what type of person McConaughey's character was, whether he was actually homophobic versus changing his opinions over time, or like there were some people who said no, he was bisexual and he was very, pro-gay community. What did you think of that decision then with that character? Because of course it does present for a really good arc where, I mean, at the very beginning he's dropping, the gay slur, the F word, and by the end of it, he is distraught when Jared Leto's character passes away.
And I think that was the reason to make him so extreme at the start, is that it shows that development more.
Yeah.
And also, I'm not sure that anybody knows for sure what he would. He obviously wasn't as extreme as he was in real life, but the rest of it is all, speculation. I know about this in part because maybe 2 to 3 years after that came out, I was on a panel that was about AIDS in film, and we did a lot of research on this, or I did a lot of research on this, and a lot of these movies that were based on a true story sort of exaggerated elements of it to make a point, right? And it extends from almost from the first movies that were about AIDS. The interesting other thing about this is by doing that and by making him not gay, right? It put a little different spin on the AIDS movies because most of them are about gay characters. Tom Hanks in Philadelphia, who won the Academy Award for
Right.
that, stands out. But it's gone on through where this guy then is not gay, and it shows that it could have hit not just the gay community or not just the what do you call it, needle drug community.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And that's the way it was in the 80s when AIDS first started. It was probably almost always attached to gay people.
Mm-hmm.
That
Didn't Magic Johnson, wasn't that like one of the first big moments?
And it was
Absolutely.
when Magic Johnson announced he had HIV, that really started to change the tide, because up until that point, if you had HIV or you had AIDS, you were just instantly assumed, oh, you got it because you were gay.
Mhm.
And that was just the
The
mindset
assumption, yeah.
of the time. And even like to the drug addicts, you know, the needle users, as you pointed out, Kent, even though that was a very common avenue of which people got HIV, it was always
Assumed.
assumed that people were gay and doing in getting HIV and AIDS, which is, you know, obviously just a sign of the attitude of the times.
And, you know, they called it the gay plague.
Yeah.
I mean, that was what it was being called. And the other thing that happened because of that is there's, I guess, significant enough evidence that it held back the research on it. Interestingly enough, you know, where Anthony Fauci got his start was working on the HIV virus back. And the thing that he did that was really groundbreaking is that he invited the AIDS activists in and said, let's work on this together. And he went from being demonized to Larry Kramer called him the true hero of the AIDS crisis. So, I mean, that's an interest. So you watch this movie now with that you know, that's something that spun up in my mind when I watched it. Even.
Yeah, you know, Ken, I'm happy you said that, because it's been interesting doing the movie club, because we have had some movies that have felt very prescient at times, and this was another one where I watched it and I couldn't help but think about the moment we are living in today for a variety of reasons. One, the way that vaccines, of course, are discussed, the mistrust of a doctor. I mean, that if there's a villain in this movie, it's the main doctor that he is, and I guess the FDA that McConaughey's kind of going up against. And then not to mention that there was like this really dark part of me last night that was thinking, my goodness, in this movie, it's set in what, 85 and 86 and 87. And they're talking about, we got to find the vaccine. We got to find the vaccine. It's 35 years ago that we're talking about. And in the moment, we're of course talking about finding a vaccine to COVID-19. So I just thought all of those things made for a really interesting watch in 2020.
I agree. I agree completely. The other thing that this did, speaking of 2020, is Leto was his character was one of the first major type movie trans characters.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a central character,
Right.
and he won the Oscar for it. Now we have all the, you know, LBGTQ, whatever it is, plus stuff going on, and it's not such a unusual thing, I guess, that people but then it was like, wow. And, you know, and then Jared Leto, of course, takes things completely like he does in every movie he's in. Apparently he wouldn't go out of character on the set.
Oh, really?
It was that far.
If there was one criticism that I had, and you kind of set the table for this when you talked about how, you know, the actual man in real life may have actually been gay himself, or at least, you know, bisexual. And the way that they wrote the McConaughey character in the beginning was he's this very over the top, very redneckish, you know, rodeo guy who is very homophobic. I guess a thing that kind of distracted me in the beginning was how he was so quickly able to transition from being that to a guy who's mimicking a priest so that he can cross the border and bring back all of these drugs. Now, when you look at it and you see it's Matthew McConaughey, you say, well, of course it's Matthew McConaughey, but the character being able to go from this, you know, very homophobic, stereotypical rodeo guy, if you will, to being able to mimic a priest,
act on the board. He's an actor essentially in that moment.
And I guess that was a little bit distracting to me in terms of how he was able to do it so quickly. But that would be about the only real criticism I had of the movie.
I can see that, and it does kind of trip over itself in a few places where it gets a little convoluted. You don't quite know where's this going, and it takes a while to resolve itself. But he sure never does. McConaughey doesn't. He's on it that's one of the great performances this was the prime of Matthew McConaughey, where he was making movies like this and Mud and
True Detective,
all of those things. And it's when the world figured out that he was more than just the guy in the rom-coms or the guy, the smart ass guy or whatever,
Well, he lost 50 pounds.
Yeah.
So that he could, look like he is sick with AIDS. And I think Jared Leto lost
like 20 to 30 or
20
something.
or 30 pounds.
Yeah. And Jared Leto's a little guy too.
Yes.
And it's not like
right next to him. He's a little guy. If he dropped 30 pounds, that was pretty intense.
So they went pretty extreme so that they could fit into the roles that they were playing and make it look real.
Wasn't this around the same time as Wolf of Wall Street?
2013.
I believe you're correct.
Because his character, if you see
he is skinny in that.
Very skinny. And I don't think it's for that character. Now, he has a cokehead in that, so it works.
Yeah,
but
he's barely in the movie. He's in it for like 5 minutes.
For 5 minutes, and he's scrawny.
Yeah, he is.
And I'm guessing he's scrawny because he was already.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably happy to get on that set because you could eat.
This is one of only, I believe it's 5 movies where that got an Oscar for Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor. Same movie.
Wow, ever.
Wow.
Didn't Jennifer Garner get some consideration too?
This thing had Best Picture nominations. It also won for like Best Makeup and Best Costume and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But she got nominated Best Picture. The director did not, and the screenwriters didn't, which is kind of odd, but I thought it's a very good movie in its time. And once again, we've watched a lot of movies here that have really held up.
Yeah.
We haven't watched too many of them that have been like, okay, that was good 15 years ago, but it stinks now.
Yeah.
Well, Josh, I think, is picking next.
Yeah, so I'm going to be out in a couple of Fridays, and I don't know. I assume, Kent, you have seen this movie. Are we all good with HBO, HBO Go, HBO Max, whatever it is? Do we all have HBO?
I think so.
All right. Ken, do you have access to an HBO?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Good Boys. This was a movie I think that like Seth Rogen produced. It's like apparently supposed to be super bad, but they're even younger.
They're
they're little kids. Yeah.
Cool kids. Yeah.
I've heard it's hilarious. They're like
hilarious.
Foul mouthed. I never saw it. I heard really good things.
This.
Okay, I figured. Have you seen it, Stibbs?
I have not.
Awesome. I figured this is all right in our alley. After a movie, about the AIDS crisis, we can laugh a little bit more next week. So, Good Boys. It's available.
And this is available just on HBO too. You don't have to have the HBO
Correct.
Max.
It's on all the HBOs.
Yes.
So if you got regular HBO, you're good to go. It's on all the streaming stuff as well.
And it's funny. It is. It's like super bad for little kids.
Awesome.
Yikes.
I am in. I am in.
Good Boys will be next week's movie. So we'll get because we had people when they found out it was Dallas Buyers Club said, "Man, you guys are so depressing." Well, we won't be depressing this week.
No, we will not.
Not depressing, but maybe a little on the troubling side.
Luckily, we won't watch it live on the air. We'll we'd have to do a little editing if we did that.
We'll deal with the consequences later. Did they reach halftime in this game? I assume you've been watching all your NBA playoffs. Any takes?
Yeah, Miami. I thought Miami would do well. They look very good. I think. Watch out, Miami might get somebody. It's weird that both Milwaukee and the Lakers managed to lose a first-round game because I thought they'd sweep. But the Lakers actually acted like they wanted to play basketball last night, and
Yes.
they made short order of them last night. And I would imagine that those will be, one loss and away we go. I think it'll be the top 4 seeds go through on both sides, and then we're going to have some serious basketball.
Well, and how long is Lillard out?
He says he's playing.
He says
He
he's
says he's playing.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Good luck with him.
Yeah.
Ken, do you think the Mavs give any more trouble to the Clippers?
No.
No.
Luka.
Well, he's a really good player. However, Kawhi, Paul George.
Yeah, they're pretty good. The other thing, Ken, I know we had a listener ask us off the air. What are your plans moving forward with reviewing movies as the theaters are starting to open back up again? I know Tenet's being released in a couple of weeks, like kind of nationwide. What's going on with you and new movies?
My plan is if they have screenings, I'll do it, and if they don't, I can't.
Yeah.
And I have received 0 screening notices at this point. Okay. And my guess is that getting movies to Nebraska for somebody to screen is pretty low on the priority list.
Mm-hmm.
But I might start getting some links, to watch online. But as of now, I've gotten nothing.
As mainstream films try to start getting back, will Nebraska will we be able to see them, or are we going to get a staggered schedule?
No, absolutely. They'll, at this point, they're going to show them anywhere they can, because there are some places where they can't get back at all.
Yeah, like California, I'm pretty sure, like LA, they still can't watch movies right now.
Right. So they're going to send them wherever they can.
Yeah.
The question is, I was just looking at the release schedules and stuff, and everything, like all this stuff from the summer sort of moved into the fall, and a lot of stuff that was in the fall moved to next year, and all of this, and I got no idea what's coming out when. I don't think anybody does, right?
Yeah, I didn't realize Tenet was coming out until this morning, and it's like, it's coming out Labor Day weekend. I was like, wait, what? It's 2 weeks away. I had no idea.
Yeah, and this Russell Crowe movie, I think, is the sort of big release this weekend. I haven't seen it. I haven't heard good things about it, but I haven't.
And it's interesting because they actually advertised that film.
The Russell Crowe movie?
Yes, the Russell Crowe movie. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Unchained, something.
But they did
Unhinged.
kind of a promotional push about a month and a half ago for a NASCAR race. So it was kind of like a co-promotion, and they, Russell Crowe waved the green flag, and it did a lot of this stuff, but the movie wasn't out yet. So it was kind of interesting that, the movie hadn't been out, but they were already doing this promotion for it in the middle of this race. Marcus, by the way, Marcus Theaters, in addition to the Majestic, which has been open, Twin Creek and Village Point are opening today.
Okay.
And next week,
as are the Grand, the South Point, and the East Park in Lincoln.
Yes. Yeah, I think Grand is opening today, and South Point and East Park are next for
2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a few of the mainstream theaters are opening up. The Ross, as you mentioned, the Ross is opening today too, I believe, correct?
Yes. And I believe the Exarban Cinema opened today.
All right.
Okay. So there you go. Another movie club. Next week, it's Good Boys. And we'll get Kent back in time for the second half of the
16-point game is what it is.
It's not much of a game.
Yeah.
Not much of a game. Okay, this is the other thing here. Weird enough, watching basketball in August.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Indianapolis 500 on Sunday in August. That's supposed to be Memorial Day, not August.
So weird. They should have moved it to Labor Day weekend. It would have kind of fit.
Well, exactly.
So weird. What a weird
We'll
year.
have the Derby here in a few years.
The Derby is Labor Day weekend. Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Kent, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next Friday.
Thank you, Kent.
See you next week.
There he is, Kent Wolgamott in Kent's Movie Club. And Good Boys, it's streaming on HBO, all the HBO platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Still to come, Mitch Holtis, don't forget. and
Josh,
Dr. Rob Zadiska.
Dr. Rob.
Talk more about this myocarditis thing and get his thoughts too. As he got blocked by Desmond Howard. I still didn't get blocked.
Oh,
Still haven't been blocked.
I didn't tweet at Desmond,
I
but
didn't
he might
either.
have blocked me anyway. I saw a lot of our Nebraska brethren. They got blocked. A lot of people
Dustin
getting
Johnson didn't get to his 59. By
Oh
the way.
man! Oh, he got a
Sad.
60.
Yep.
That has to be the most depressing 60 a golfer has ever had. He was 11 under through 11.
Crazy. Crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Take a break. Be back. One Beer Friday coming up. 1620 years old.